Almost every culture in the world has a version of this phrase. In English, they say, shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations. In Chinese, we say, wealth does not pass 3 generations. 富不过三代. People have been observing this phenomenon for centuries. And how do we usually explain it? We say the grandchildren were lazy. They don't work hard enough. We say they were spoiled. They lack hunger. We say they didn't learn enough financial knowledge. But what if I told you it has nothing to do with laziness and nothing to do with a lack of financial knowledge? The destruction of wealth across generations is not a moral failure. It is a biological and a structural inevitability. It is the ultimate proof of what I've been saying on this channel. Ability only appears when there's no retreat, and wealth, by its very definition, is the ultimate retreat. What gets passed down from the first generation to the third is mostly knowledge and information, those experiences, not ability. And the most counterintuitive part is that a large portion of first generation wealth is spent on purchasing more comprehensive knowledge and more precise information for the second generation, especially the third, no matter how expensive it may be. Let's look at the first generation, the founder. How did they build the wealth? Did they have a step-by-step manual? Did they have a clear explanation of how the market would react? No. They started with nothing. They make decisions under pressure. They lived in pure uncertainty. They take risks without guarantees. Every decision was a guess. They guessed wrong, they bled. They adjusted, they guessed again. They learned by losing, adjusting, and surviving. Their understanding is embodied. It lives in action, not explanation. Because the process of gaining ability is deeply hostile to the human mind, they endured it not because they were genetically superior. They endured it because they had no choice. There was no safety net. No one to step in and fix their mistakes. Out of that chaos, out of that fog, real ability was formed. Not knowledge, ability. The instinct to survive, to read the room, to sense the market's timing. Then the founder succeeds. They acquire wealth. And immediately a trap is triggered. As parents, our mother tongue is protection. It is an overwhelming biological instinct. When we see a child in trouble, our instinct is to step in and fix it. The founder remembers the pain, the terror, the bruising of their own journey, and they look at their children and think, I built all of this so you will never have to suffer like I did. So what do? They use their wealth to buy certainty for their children. They remove the fog. They hire the best tutors to provide clear explanations. They send them to the best schools to acquire massive amounts of knowledge. If the child makes a mistake, the wealth acts as a buffer. The second generation grows up close to that success. They hear the stories. They receive the rules. They are taught the logic. There are no real consequences. But remember, ability is built only when information is unavailable and judgment is required. By removing the danger, by removing the uncertainty, the parent systematically destroys the exact environment that the child needs to form their own ability. What the second generation mostly inherit is interpretation, not the original conditions that produced the ability. Now, Generation 3 grow up. They look fantastic on paper. They have degrees from Ivy League universities. They have MBAs. They know all the business frameworks. They are surrounded by explanations, systems, professionals, advisors, processes designed to prevent mistakes. Everything is optimized to protect outcomes. Performance replaces exploration. Kids look capable, they look accomplished, but the space where real ability should grow quietly disappears. They have accumulated huge amounts of knowledge, but when the market changes, when a real crisis hits, and the textbook has no answers, their minds go blank. They know how to manage a system. They have no idea how to survive in the fog because they never had to guess. They never had to build an instinct from zero. The third generation often knows more, has more access, and understands the language of success much better than the first. But they rarely face the same friction. And without friction, ability cannot form. This isn't just about money. It's the same pattern we see in education today. Children are surrounded by knowledge, instructions, strategies, and step-by-step explanations, but fewer and fewer opportunities to operate without a safety net. We confuse being informed with being capable. And now AI accelerates this problem. AI can explain everything, summarize everything, optimize every path. But explanation is not experience, and optimization is not growth. Multiple third-party analyses show a clear drop in ChatGPT's active users in May and June. This period coincides with the start of summer break in the Northern Hemisphere. Some observers believe the decline may be linked to students going on vacation. If that's true, it would suggest that students from the core user base of ChatGPT. If that were the case, would you find it alarming? Today, many people use AI in a way that is almost a blind acceptance. Whatever AI says becomes the final answer. They are obsessed with one-click generation, with getting results in a single second. In other words, they have completely abandoned judgment. And once a human being gives up judgment, it essentially means they have already been fully replaced by AI. If you remove the need for judgment, you remove the place where ability forms. So let's come back to wealth doesn't last 3 generations. Again, it is not a moral failure. It's a structural one. When success is inherited as information instead of rebuilt as ability, collapse is not surprising, especially by the 3rd generation. Why does everything suddenly collapse? They mistake their polished education for real ability. It is the ultimate false competence. Just like someone who can beautifully sight read a complex sheet of music but freezes the moment you ask them to improvise. When the wealth is finally handed over to them, they don't lose it because they're stupid. They lose it because the system they inherited requires ability to maintain, and they only possess knowledge. This is the cruelest paradox of human success. The very wealth you create to protect your children becomes the exact mechanism that constrains their vitality. You try to give them a head start, but you actually steal their only chance to grow a spine. So, if you are a parent, or if you are building something you hope will last, you have to do something profoundly counterintuitive. You must betray your instinct to protect. You must artificially construct the fog. You must let them fall, and you must refuse to help them up. You must withhold explanation. You must hide the retreat. Because passing down money is easy, but you cannot pass down ability. Ability must be suffered for individually, every single time. Here, the real question is not how to preserve wealth, it's how to preserve environments where ability still has to be earned. I'm Marcus. If you're ready to let go of your certainty, subscribe to this channel. See you next time.